Climbing up to the smoking crater of Mount Bromo is one of the most special things to do in Java Island, and the town of Malang is a convenient base for a day trip to Bromo. As it is known, many of Indonesia's finest sights reveal their true splendor at sunrise. So, keeping up to this tradition, I set off on another pre-dawn excursion on narrow and winding mountain roads to witness the spectacle of smoking Mount Bromo at the first light of the day. The 1.5 hour journey from Malang to Mount Bromo sunrise point, which began at 2:30 in the morning, was an adventure in itself. The rugged roads demanded a trusty companion. The sturdy four-wheel drive took up the challenge with confidence, and we pressed on further, on the path illuminated only by the vehicle's headlights. It wasn't surprising to see many other vehicles heading in the same direction, as the magnificence of Mount Bromo at sunrise is well known amongst adventure travelers. Upon arriving at the sunrise lookout point, it was still dark. The air was crisp, carrying a chill that hung in the early morning mist. The tea shops had already started business and were offering hot tea and fireplace to sit around for some warmth. Vendors were renting out heavy jackets to those who needed extra layers to hang out in the cold. The place was crowded. The next task for everyone was to scramble in the dark and find a spot that offered an uninterrupted view of the cluster of volcanoes in front. I could hear so many different languages being spoken around me. Daar hebben we dan de eerste week gezeten en een jungle-trekking gedaan. It was still dark, except the eastern skies that showed vivid colors indicating a brilliant sunrise. As dawn approached, the horizon slowly relinquished its dark veil, revealing silhouettes that gradually transformed into definite shapes. The conical peaks of volcanoes, rising above the layer of mist, emerged into view. It was one of the most magical sights I have ever seen. The clearly visible crater of Mount Bromo, belching smoke, was in front of me, glowing in the first light of the day. I knew I was going to be on that crater rim shortly after, looking into the crater. As the sun rose gradually, the landscape changed many colors. A thick veil of mist still covered the valley. I was curious to see the plains below the mist cover, which is described as desert-like sea of sand, stretching for miles around the cluster of 5 volcanic vents. Mount Bromo is the most active of all. Just then I noticed Mount Semeru, the tallest peak in Indonesia, seen further in the backdrop, had also started belching out smoke. As the morning progressed, the orange glow disappeared, the sky turned blue, and the landscape presented a different show in crisp and clear white and blue settings. There are many lookout points, and they are actually located on the rim of an old volcano. And the expansive area in the valley is a caldera, which along with the cluster of volcanic vents forms major part of Bromo Tengah Semeru National Park. One of the most popular lookout point is Penanjakan Hill. Now it was time to reach the base of Bromo, climb up to its rim, and witness one of the most fascinating wonders of nature. Bromo Tengah National Park encompasses within its boundaries a geological marvel known as Sea of Sand. Ages ago, a colossal volcano that stood in this place erupted with such tremendous force that blew away most of its mass. The crater filled up with hot lava. Subsequent geological processes sculpted this desolate plain, which is a caldera now filled with fine sand mixed with volcanic ash. Also, 5 volcanic vents came into existence that we see today, Mount Bromo being the most active. Morning mist hangs over the volcanic terrain, creating a magical scene. One must traverse the sea of sand to reach the base of Bromo. The climb from the parking lot to the crater is not much, takes about 40 minutes to an hour depending upon individual fitness level. In fact, upon reaching the sea of sand, one is already at an altitude of about 2000 meters. Along the route, there are shops selling snacks and drinks. The vicinity around the national park is inhabited by Tengah people, who are one of the last remaining Hindu communities on Java Island. A Hindu temple within the caldera makes the surroundings very mystical. The name Bromo is said to have been evolved from Javanese word for Brahma, the Hindu god of creation. From here, top of Bromo looks as if it has blown up, leaving behind asymmetrical and pointed edges. The landscape is amazing. The colors, unique rock formations, the vastness, the layers that have gone into shaping up this landscape, all put together, give it an otherworldly appearance. There is a bit of ascent involved on loose mud slopes before reaching the 250 stairs that lead to the crater's rim. It is possible to opt for a paid horse ride to cover the distance. However, in my opinion, our quest for adventure should be fulfilled through our own physical efforts, rather than putting burden on another being who does not have a choice in the matter. The 250 steps are not very difficult to climb. This was my first sight of the crater, and I was awestruck. However, as I ventured further along the rim, different vantage points unfolded a new facet of the crater's commanding splendor. A funnel-shaped structure with rocky and steep walls descending many feet below the rim. The vent's belly belches out white smoke, accompanied by a rumbling sound. The stench of sulfur permeates the air. Sulfur stains can be seen in the lower part of the walls. Walking on the crater's rim is both exciting and nerve-wracking. The ground is rough and uneven. With every step, one is on the edge of a steep drop, with crater on one side and the rocky face dropping in the valley on the other. Some parts of the rim are so narrow and slippery with loose mud that my only worry was if someone bumped into me accidentally, I would go tumbling down on one of the two sides, with crater being the worst out of the two. So I was mindfully keeping safe distance from everyone. The views are incredible, with jagged cliffs and peaks painting a primordial picture. A Hindu god, Lord Ganesh, is the protective deity of this region. As I walked along the rim, my initial anxiety disappeared, replaced by a sense of awe at the sheer power of nature. I kept walking further, reluctant to turn back. It was a feeling of being on the edge of a force so immensely powerful, capable of reshaping the very contours of the surrounding terrain. Nonetheless, it was now time to start descending from the peak. As I made my way down, mist had completely lifted, revealing a breathtaking panorama. The neighboring peak of Mount Bromo stood tall, its rugged outlines cutting against the backdrop. Bromo is a dormant peak now. Some vegetation can be seen on its slopes. And then the time came to leave Mount Bromo and head back for Malang. It was dark when we drove towards Mount Bromo Sunrise Point. The landscape was not visible in the night, but now on the return, a whole new world revealed itself. Just a little further away from Bromo, there is a terrain they call Savannah Fields, for its similarity to Africa-like landscape. Encircled by verdant hills, these fields undergo a transformation of colors with each season. In the dry month of August, they took on a rustic brown hue. When I was heading up in the dark, the excitement to see Bromo kept me wide awake and anxious. And on the return, the breathtaking landscape of Javanese countryside kept me awake and curious. In spite of a sleepless night behind me, I could not close my eyes even for a minute on the return trip. The landscape would change from time to time. Small towns were passing by, and I did not want to miss out on anything. And then finally I arrived in the beautiful city of Malang around 12 in the noon. The day concluded with cherished memories of Mount Bromo. and the time had come to leave Malang and embark on another adventure in the eastern part of Java Island.